So hello everyone. Today we're gonna welcome to Babylon Tom. Today we're gonna make a video on the Black Pope and what he said about the COVID-19 that's gonna end democracy basically. Now we understand that the ideal system is not democracy. Democracy is the ruling of the majority on the minority, which is basically a form of fascism, and usually it uses the poorest class of the society to go against the rich, basically, and it's very successful. We see that the tax system is basically has been done through the democratic system, but what he means here is not that. I think that what he means is that it's the end of the representative government form of democracy. We've seen that during the crisis because the government basically there's never been as much riots than today against the government, against the lockdown, against any measures that's been done on the crisis, against the vaccine, against the passport, against a lot of things, and we're talking about thousands, and maybe I've seen riots and manifestation, something that looks like well over 100 million, 100,000 people present in Montreal, for example, in the month of May. And it seems to be riots and manifestation every week now concerning the lockdown measures. And what I think, I really think that that's talking about the representative kind of government. And Ellen White, she's talking about sometimes. I forget exactly the quote there, but she says that it's going to come upon us as an overwhelming surprise. And at first I thought she was talking about Sunday law there, but after studying further, I think it's not talking about Sunday law. I think that, of course, we're going to be caught by surprise when the Sunday law is going to be here, but we know that it's going to be debated in court, because she says that it's going to be similar to the decree of Ahasuerus in the times of Esther. And so consequently, I think that the overwhelming surprise needs to be associated with something else. And I wouldn't be surprised, or maybe I will, I don't know, because it says it's going to be an overwhelming surprise, but I wouldn't be surprised that it would be the end of liberty. That's people's going to realize that with the overwhelming surprise. And that the great controversy, the conspiracy that I am denouncing today, maybe it's going to be the fact that those conspirationists were right. And we're starting to see that right now on the internet, where people are openly saying, the conspirationists, a year ago we would say you were a conspiracy theorist, but today, every single thing that the conspiracy theorists are saying are coming to pass. And I think that, maybe during the election of Biden, we've seen the election irregularities. I think that there were also irregularities during the Trump election. They said that the Russians were implicated, and I think they were most likely. But I wouldn't be surprised we see that during the fall in Canada with the federal election. I wouldn't be surprised at all that people are waking up to the fact that freedom is just over. And the Bible really is clear about freedom. The Bible says that where the word of the Lord is, there's liberty. And so if there's no liberty, if people are becoming atheists and sodomites, of course freedom is going to go. It's something that we must anticipate, because we can see around. We can see around that the word of the Lord is departing from the society we live in, and the Christian values are replaced by paganistic values and humanistic values and all that. And I think that eventually is going to lead to the freedom disappearing. And I think that's what we are seeing right now, and that's what the Black Pope is about to say. So I'm going to play the video. I'm going to comment again afterwards.
Countries, the coronavirus continues leaving behind many victims. In others, the light at the end of the tunnel is in sight as they gradually return to normality. It's a delicate phase that the Superior General of the Jesuits thinks shouldn't be one of reconstruction.
Yo, por ejemplo, evitaría la palabra reconstrucción.
I would avoid using the word reconstruction because what we don't want is to rebuild what was there before. I think we need to go into a phase more about self-critiquing at the global level, about understanding what the crisis is teaching us. Arturo Sosa notes that the pandemic has revealed that the current economic model leads to higher levels of inequality, and that economic paralysis has further widened the gap between socioeconomic classes.
Queremos, al contrario, que esto ayude.
On the contrary, we hope the situation helps people see that other economic models are possible. It's much easier to find a vaccine for the coronavirus than for the virus of selfishness, war, and the possibility of having a more equitable distribution of wealth than what we have now. The Superior General of the Jesuits says the challenge is for everyone, as even democracy could become a victim of the pandemic.
¿Cómo se logra que una
How can such a situation, which gives such a clear view of existing inequality, lead to political action, to a citizenship that moves in that direction? How does political growth come about? Even democracy could become one of the victims of COVID. Or it could be a moment where democracy rebuilds its foundations at the grassroots level, thus creating real pressure, because this isn't going to change in 2 days. He also explains that the pandemic has claimed the lives of at least 32 Jesuits, most in the United States, France, and Lebanon. The Society of Jesus has responded with local emergency initiatives, many of them requiring tremendous courage. For example, some have kept soup kitchens in schools open, while others have.
So let's congratulate the Jesuits for the soup kitchens here. And basically what he's saying is that it's the end of democracy and that the system needs to change. He doesn't want to rebuild something that was there before. And so that's the freedom, that's the representative government. That's the implementation of the clear implementation of Laudato Si, which is nothing else than what the World Economic Forum is spearheading with the Great Reset. And also there's the Laudato Si there, the environment. So there, everything's there. And they got their plan, and their plan is been laid on the papers, on the encyclicals for years now, for over 5 years. The Laudato Si was 2015, and now they got the crisis to implement. And we see that the economy of the world was completely destroyed, and the middle class is really the result of the Protestant Reformation. There was no middle class before. Before it was only the court and the poor, right? That's only what the king, the court, the poor. And in the court, you had the merchants, you had the clergy, and you had the politicians. That's what you had, and it's gonna be the same today. We can see that the fabric of the society is disappearing. I mean, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, a man with his work and could provide for his entire family of 6, 4 children and 2 adults, and that's over. Those days are well over, and except if you're doing a very good job and you're part of the rich class, the middle class, they cannot do that anymore, and so that's the plan. The plan is to destroy the system and to rebuild some kind of communism and or fascism. And I don't think it's going to be the same around the world. I think places like here in Quebec, I think it's going to be communism here. And somewhere else where people have, I don't know, they're more wealth, generally speaking, I think that in those regions it's going to be more fascism. And fascism is nothing else than big business and tech companies, monopolies, and like we have today in Canada. I mean, we have 3 groceries, 6 banks, monopolies for electricity. Maybe there's something else in Alberta where they got gas there, oil, and so they got different providers. But in Ontario and in Quebec, it's basically it. You got Hydro One and Hydro Quebec, and some others, but it's basically a monopoly. You got 3, 4 telecommunication companies. You got 2 let's say newspapers. You get a couple newspapers. I mean, it's a joke. This is a fascist system, and this is monopolistic, oligopolistic system is a fascist system. The government and the corporation for the common good is what it is. And so I think that it's going to be even more pronounced now because he says that the redistribution of wealth historically has been seen through the manipulation of the US dollar currency. So the US dollar went up and the transfer production went from US to outside of the US, outside around the world, in Canada, Mexico, Asia, and elsewhere. And this was their redistribution of wealth. Now it's going to be, again, it's not over this. It's going to continue, and I think it's going to intensify. Maybe now it's going to be the inverse strategy. Rather than having US dollar go up, it's going to be US dollar goes down. And since there's no production in the US, the Americans are going to be strangled by the prices of everything. And it started. Anyways, let's see what happened. I think it's the words of the superior generals needs to be constantly very attentively listened to because he's on the top of the pyramid there. So my opinion is that he is the real Pope since 1798. The liar Pope is the white Pope, and the real Pope, the Pope that always had the same personality of killing the heretics and so forth, the Protestants, is really the Black Pope. And so, but it's my personal opinion, the Pope is the Pope. And so the white Pope also still in many ways keep his same attributes, is that he blasphemes the name of God, and he sits as God in his temple and so forth. So yeah, so let's see what happens with that. It's going to be interesting with all the scandals. To what extent is the population going to be submissive to the Catholic Church that sodomize the children of the world and kills them? So it's going to be interesting to see what the population is going to answer to all those scandals and the lessons that they're trying to give us. So on that, God bless you. See you next time.